Yeah, there's not many guys out there that are doing training 6 days a week, man, especially not being, you know, what are we at, 5.5 weeks from the Arnold right now?
Yeah, yeah. I love it. I like the time in the gym. It just keeps me, my mind occupied and it keeps me focused. So, and like I said, the arm day is kind of like, kind of like a recovery day, active recovery day, because arms isn't something I need to like blast really hard. So I get in there, I hit like maybe like three movements for bicep, three movements for triceps, and I'm in and out of there within 45 minutes.
Do you still find your
Hey man, what's happening?
Sorry.
this is it? This is it. We were just talking about training. For your arm day, are you still do you still have sets that actually go to failure? Like, do you have top sets on your arm days, or do you just kind of get them pumped and then go?
Yeah, yeah. I'll hit like near failure. I know everybody's talking like RPEs or whatever like that. I'll just probably go with like maybe like 2 reps in reserve, where it's just like right there, right at the edge of it. So yeah, and I stick to the basic movements that work for me. A preacher curl. I'll do a uh what do you call it? Incline curl, and I'll superset that with a hammer curl. Those are literally the bicep movements I do, just 3 movements, and then triceps is all the simple stuff, the push downs and the overhead presses and stuff like that. It's the simple stuff for me because arms isn't anything I'm like lacking or hurting for, but I still want to keep them up to par.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll do it for you. Like you said, you don't need any more arms.
Yeah.
You really don't. Your arms are massive, man. Not that you can never have too big of arms, but definitely you're definitely there with arms. But you said you're doing 2 back days now. Now, do you take sets to failure more so on back, or so
Yeah.
you're still
Yeah.
doing that at this point out?
Yeah, yeah. Everything mostly goes to failure. Each day. Like today it was chest day, and I'll break down like that. It was incline barbell, and I worked my way up. I did like 3 plates for 12, so 315, and then I did 375 for 8, and that was like failure. Like I needed a force rep to get that eighth rep from my dad. So and then that was it, and then I just moved right on to like a hammer strength and hand strength incline press, and then we'll go up to like 4 plates, and then that's a little bit more high reps, so maybe like 10 reps, 10 12 reps, but I'm still hitting failure. And then same thing, I'll go over dumbbell presses, and I'll go like maybe a little bit lower reps, like maybe around like 8, like 6 to 8 again, and I'll try to get like one force rep for my dad. I always tell him like let me get at least one force, and then move on to flies, and we'll do like a pec deck or like a cable fly, and then we'll finish off with like a flat hammer press. So yeah, most of those sets are just like one hard failure set. But the set before that is, I would say, is like maybe like two in the tank. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so your training is locked in. Yeah,
yeah,
you're
yeah. This has
locked in
been the
solid,
best. This
man.
has been the best training I've had in a very long time. Coming into this prep, because me and my dad, we weren't training together for a while, but then we got back training together, and it's just been like the best thing ever. Like ever since even when I played football, we would train. He would help me train. So he knows like my body. He knows my mentality in the gym. He knows when I can push it too far, or when, so he knows when to tell me to back off, or okay, now you got another rep or another set in you. Because sometimes you kind of need that extra person to tell you, hey, like, all right, chill, like today's not the day. Or, if I'm like, maybe I'm feeling a little bit tired. He's like, nah, I saw it, like you got it in you. So, he's been a very integral part in this prep for the training, amongst everything, other things as well. But for the training, I definitely feel like I grew into this prep because my weight hasn't really moved too much. I started around like two 258, and I'm only like 243, but the conditioning's changed a lot. And at one point, it just kind of just went back up and down from like 240 to 243, But each time I look back at pictures today, like 2 months ago, I was 245, but I'm 243 right now, and the weight, is only 2 pounds difference, but the look looks dramatic. So that's the first time that's ever happened, and I really attribute that to the training being super intense. We kept the weights heavy all the way through, so we're maintaining that strength, and yeah, it's been great.
Yeah,
Hey
you look
man, do you find
265.
the intensity?
No,
So
no, you say
yeah, continue.
245, but man, you look 265.
Yeah, yeah. It's
It's nuts.
the illusion of being.
Xavier, Xavier, I gotta ask you, how's your training going?
I've been training a little bit, like I've
Have
been
you?
getting in there. Yeah, not heaps, but I've
Have you
been in there
really?
more lately. But yeah, yeah, I have been. I have been. I've actually gone today, which is good. But yeah, it's good, man. Like it's such a funny thing. Like when you don't train for a while and then you start training again, it's
Mhm.
like you realize how good it is for your mental. Like the fact that it just adds structure to your day, like especially if you work for yourself or whatever, it's like, man, it's yeah, it's massive.
Sometimes you just
I
gotta
know
fit it.
Carlos like
Sometimes you no, no. So
her,
sometimes you just gotta fit it in. But but don't quit again.
no, 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 I won't. I won't.
That's
I
all.
had
Just don't quit again.
extenuating
Sorry.
circumstances though.
Yeah.
Extenuating circumstances.
Don't quit again. That's it.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Me?
Yeah. What were
Oh,
you
I was
saying?
gonna ask Carlos. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I was gonna say, is the more intense like lower rep, lower maybe like volume, is that better for you overall? Is that what you're doing now? Or is it more like
Um,
the
yeah, I've been doing that mostly this prep. Um, I still try to, stay within like that 8 to 12 rep range, and then I removed a ton of the intensifiers because Patrick does like we have his SST, which is a lot of clusters and some drop sets and rest pauses, which I still like to implement on my back days. Um, but on days like chest and shoulders, I might do maybe one or two exercises where I'll add an intensifier, just because as the food gets lower and cardio gets higher, being super mindful of my recovery and how that impacts like my gut. So that's something like where I'm trying to keep like the intensity high and the weights heavy, but I might have to pull back on the intensifiers. So that's kind of like where I'm at right now, where we pull back on intensifiers, and I'm just making sure that again, like I'm keeping the strength high, and the rep ranges may be around like that 8 to 12 rep range. But when I was a bit of a like like a middleweight or something like that, I would say like I did a lot of like giant sets and like like the supersets and stuff. So I would probably do like 25 reps and giant sets and stuff. Because I was very fit coming out of football when I first started playing and when I first got into bodybuilding. So that kind of piqued my interest because it was kind of similar to how I was training for football. I was training, very
Like
intense,
endurance based.
yeah, very intense sprints and stuff like that. So I would do a lot of like Neil Hill's Y3T week 3 workouts, which
Yep.
are like lots of giant sets and high reps, like 20, 25 reps, per exercise and stuff. So I used to do that a lot when I was younger, but as I've gotten older and put on more mass, I've found that the sweet spot for me, maybe like that 8 to 12, 15, but there are still some times where I may take like a set to like a back off set on like say squats. I might hit like 4 plates for 12, and then I'll drop to like 3 plates and grind out like, 18, 20 reps. And,
yeah.
and, I mean, so like, that's like my high reps for me.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's
So
funny because when I competed, like the best I ever looked was when I actually backed off a little bit. And I think I sort of, not that I have like ulcerative colitis, but I've had a few like fatigue issues and things like that where, when I was younger, I would take every set like if to failure, very, very close every time and train like super intense through the whole workout. And then I've sort of learned, I'm like, okay, you're building up to it. You're leaving some reps in reserve. And then, last set you might go all out or very, very close to it. And man, I feel like my physique looked fresher. Like I just grew like during the prep, got lean way easier because I think I was just less stressed overall. And you're still pushing to that point of like overreaching, but just knowing when to pull back a little bit and okay, I'm pulling back on this workout a little bit to a stronger body part and then focus more like you do with back and stuff. And it's just so much smarter way of doing it if you're overstressed and if you have other stresses in your life as well, like
Mhm.
that still impacts on your physique and your look and your overall stress and cortisol levels. So man, I think you're
And
doing it smart. Sounds good.
and that's
Sounds good.
something that it took some time to learn because I always had like that very bullheaded approach to my training. Like I'm like, I don't care if I'm eating no carbs, like, I'm doing drop sets, I'm going to failure. And then I'm like, man, why do I look like soft and like flat and soft? Like no, not conditioned. I look less conditioned. And I didn't know anything about, managing fatigue properly. So now I'm going into this approach, and obviously I'm much older now, and I've I've been bodybuilding since I was 23. I did take, some time off before I got my pro card, about 4 years. But I still, like to educate myself. So I know that nowadays, a lot of people try to, look at managing fatigue. You look at Kuba Chellin and John Jewett and, these guys that are, putting a lot of educational material out there about how to like prep smartly, like where you can get to your best look without feeling, dogged down, exhausted, which will happen because obviously we're in bodybuilding and that's par for the course. But we want to make sure, the look reflects the work being done. And I found that for myself, I'm very sensitive to a lot of things. Like I'm sensitive to like metabolically, I'll adapt very quickly to changes. So we may pull some carbs and I'll drop very quickly, but then I'll stall out. So we got to do some other things and, training. I mean, like I can push really hard even though the food's very low, but at that point it's like my fatigue gets very high. And even though I may not feel fatigued, like my body looks fatigued. So it's just all about learning your body. And, I've had some great people in my corner over these years, obviously working with Patrick now and previously working with Andrew and he did a lot of work with me and some also working with Dorian Hamilton in the past too. Working with these guys has brought my level of education and knowing my own body throughout the years. So it's all helped out a lot. So yeah, maturity,
It's awesome, man.
bodybuilding, I would say.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
cool.
that is cool. Just when you're learning how to train effectively, you see that from a lot of competitors when they really figure it out is when they get to the point where they say, I actually need to pull back in order to continue to make progress. Because the old adage in bodybuilding is, more sets, more reps. But when you really get to the point like you're getting to, knowing when to pull back, even though you physically can continue, right? Having someone tell you pull back will allow you to continue to make progress because now you're focusing on recovery and actual, training with a purpose in terms of your muscle building, right? Especially when it comes to your back, like you were saying. So that's the smart way to do it. Was it Patrick that kind of gave you that idea to start pulling back a bit, or was it your father? Where did you get that from?
It's mostly just me just learning my own body, like I mentioned. Because like I said, I've had preps where, like we'll lower food aggressively, obviously, because like that's what it takes for me. But I know that my training, I would still go like, just run through a wall to get my training done. And
Yeah,
and after so many times, I'm like, that's just like why, I'm looking back at old pictures and I save everything. So I look at old pictures, I'm looking at old programs. I'm like, okay, what was I training like? How did I look around this time? Match this date to that date. I'll look at that diet and compare it to that date. And I'm just like, okay, these things, this is the picture here, and they're adding up to this look. So something's got to change. And again, like it took me getting out of my own way of saying like, okay, you're not training like a pussy, right? Like I'm still going in, I'm getting the job done. I may not be training like off season where I'm like crawling out of the gym and I'm like, damn, that was the craziest workout ever.
yeah, but you're killing it. You're putting everything into it every workout.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So it took me kind of getting out of my own way to come to that conclusion of like, okay, like, this is what's needed. And it may not be the fun, training that I always enjoy, but when you're 5 weeks out from a show and like you're eating 100 grams of carbs, it's like, okay, where's the fuel coming from? And you're doing 75 minutes of cardio. It's like, where's the fuel coming from? You have to be like, where's it coming from? Right?
yeah,
It's
that's right.
not there. So you have to use it just enough so that, hey, like your training's still intense and, you're able to recover from that training, or unless you're just going to dig that hole and you're not going to be able to crawl out of it.
Yeah, suffering to death is not what works anymore. It's actually the opposite that I'm realizing from a lot of guys when they feel their best, even getting into the final 4 weeks, relatively speaking, mind you. It's not the extreme level of suffering necessarily that may be the answer for some competitors. Do you find you're seeing a drastic change in your physique at this point as compared to, say, your 2023 Texas Pro Prep at this point?
Yeah, I see a change in like just like the way like I said, like my body is how fresh it looks because I was really beat down from that prep. I started prepping for New York around that time, around like January of that time, and then I had like the crazy flare with my ulcer colitis, so I like had to let that heal, and then I started prepping again for Texas. So I was kind of in prep from like January all the way to like like to August, so like 8 months, and it
Yeah.
just wore my body down, and it really took a lot out of me. So I think this time around, we're very mindful of okay, like, hey, how are you feeling? Like I just had a call with Patrick yesterday. I was telling him like it was Saturday. I said, hey, my legs are feeling a little heavy. Like, but but I'm okay. And he was like, well, just talk to me tomorrow, see how you feel, try to get some rest, try to get some sleep because I had poor sleep like that Friday night. And he was like, try to get some sleep tonight. And if you still feel that way, then we'll pull the PM cardio session. And then I woke up, I felt really refreshed. I killed my morning cardio session and I gave him a call. And I was like, hey, I feel really good. Like I'm good to go for this evening. And he was like, okay, cool, we'll keep it. So it's just, being able to, have that self-awareness of my own body and then communicating it because I'm not like, I'm very like I said, I'm very like bullheaded, and I could be like, oh man, like oh, I'm skipping cardio, even if my coach tells me to, is like, man, you're pussying out. So it's kind of like, and like in the past, like if my coach told me to take off cardio, I'm like, well, I'm still going to go for steps and get walks in. When like like he's like, no, like chill. So I've been
Yeah.
doing the service to myself. So that was a time like just yesterday where I was like, okay, I'm good. We'll do the cardio session. So it's that communication, that's been helping out a ton, with the look for the body and knowing when to push and when to pull. Like we haven't really done many refeeds, but we've taken some time off of cardio where Patrick's like, okay, like we'll just take time off, like you'll just complete rest day, no cardio, just lay around. You can get some steps in if you like, but just make sure you rest. And that's something that we've done a lot this prep.
Yeah, the guy's telling you to rest. You got to take the rest for sure. But I got to ask you, the Arnold Classic, why did you decide to go for this show as your season opener as opposed to maybe doing Detroit and then New York? The Arnold Classic is a heavy hitter lineup, man. Why the Arnold? And did you think that they would accept you?
Um, I remember I had a conversation with Dennis James right before I won my pro card, and he was like, "I think you should do the Arnold." Like coming out of my, he's like coming out of my pro, winning my pro card. He's like, "I think you should do the Arnold." And I was like, "Oh man, no, I'm not. Oh, they wouldn't accept me." And then I played around with the idea this year. I was like, "Man, like maybe what if I apply? Like maybe I'll get in. Like what I mean? No harm, no foul. If I get in, great. But if not, like." I'm going to be ahead for New York excuse me, for Detroit. Like, so I'll start prepping for Arnold around 20 weeks out, 24 weeks out from Detroit. So I'm like, if I get in, good, we're on time. But if not, then that's 4 extra weeks to just keep prepping, and I'll be even better for Detroit. So that was just like my game plan. And I was like, I'm going to apply, and so I did, and it was like such a shock because I was like, holy shit, like I got in, like I didn't, I was like maybe I could, but I wasn't trying to get like my heart broken and be like getting all like excited because there were people telling me, hey man, you'll get in, and I'm just like, well, let's not put the cart before the horse, right?
That was like Martin last year, man.
Say again.
That was like Martin last year. Everyone thought he was
Yeah,
going to get in to be
yeah,
Arnold, and then he didn't. So, yeah,
yeah.
Right.
like
Everyone. You're
I
right.
don't think I don't think they wanted that to happen again with you.
So yeah,
um,
it was it was a cool thing. So when I saw the poster come out, and I was just like, I was like just fell to the floor, and I was like, just amazing. And then because I saw myself on the poster, and then I saw everyone else, and I was like, holy shit,
You were like,
this is
holy shit. Yep.
back. I
Hmm.
was like, okay, that's Eric, okay, that's Samson, okay, that's Brandon, that's Sean. Sean told me he wasn't going to do the Arnold, and I asked him at the Olympia. He switched up. And I was like, holy crap, man, this is a crazy lineup. But then I thought about the opportunity that it gave me, right? It gave me an opportunity to stand next to, there were three former Mr. Olympias, 212 champion, Mr. Olympia champion, Arnold Classic winner, and William Bonac. These guys who I've always looked up to since I came into the game. And I used to train with Akeem when he worked with Oscar. So being able to step on stage with these guys is just a great opportunity. And the Arnold Classic, you always hear great things about it, how they treat the athletes, and the production is always amazing since I've started attending it myself with my dad. So I was just like, this is an amazing opportunity, and to be blessed to be able to do it, I'm excited for it. And I remember, I remember just like, it really sinking in, maybe like, I would say like maybe like 9 weeks out, when I was like, holy shit, like I'm actually doing this. So,
Well, it's your first like big show. Hey, like you haven't done the Olympia, so it's like this is
yeah,
your first
right.
like
Like
big
this
big
is it.
one, you know. Me
This is it,
too.
man. And it really is amazing opportunity, and I'm excited for it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I would imagine. I probably would have done the exact same thing. I'd look at the poster and be like, oh shit, yeah, I'm actually into this. But the thing is, you've got many that think you are going to compare, very well. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Dennis James has you in fourth if you come in the condition that he thinks you're going to.
Yeah, yeah, and that's that's
Yeah.
that's awesome. Because I think I can compare very well with these guys. I think that obviously people are like, oh well, like his conditioning, that's the mark, right? That's the thing that they're looking for, which I think will be right on track to bring some of the best conditioning that I've had since being this size, because I brought really good conditioning as a middleweight to the national show, where I came fifth place, and into the show that I won before that. But again, I was 170 something pounds, and I put on a
Yeah.
lot of this size very quickly. From within 4 years, I went from 170 pounds to 220 pounds, like 225 pounds, being a super heavy. So, I mean, like for me that was a lot of muscle to put on, and to have to mature and get in condition again. It's just going to take some time, and I think that it's finally, hit that level of maturity. I'm 32 years old. Um, and yeah, I just say, hey man, it's definitely my time now. So as far as the conditioning, I think it'll come in, and we've made the improvements to the back. I think that, obviously Derek has probably like one of the best backs all time, right? Comparatively. So to say like, oh man, we'll smoke him on the back double, like let's not, like I don't live in a fantasy world. But I know that there are more that like, we don't walk on stage backwards, like we don't walk on stage doing a back relax, right? If that was, then he'd still be Mr. Olympia, no offense. But that's not the case. So there are other poses, right? As it is in bodybuilding. There is the front double, which I think I match up very well to a lot of these guys as far as my shape and my size, and the quality of physique. And then, there's the side poses, which I think that I really, really match up well in these guys. And obviously there's the back poses, which, I can toss up the back double. I think, hey, like they'll take it, but I don't think it'll be a walk away home run. And then there's the back lat spread, which I think I have really good width and good detail in the back lat spread. So I think that'll be a bit of a closer comparison. And obviously there's the ab and thigh, which I'm working with my posing coach Kenny Wallach, and we're really refining that. And I think that it's really starting to come into fit the physique now that I'm a much a bigger person. And then obviously there's the most muscular, and I think that I have. And in my humblest opinion, I think I have a really good most muscular. So I think that compares very well. And yeah, I think I can stand up to these guys. So I'm excited to see it. And yeah, I'm gonna bring my best.
It's all about margins. Hey, like they don't judge it like, hey, you win the front double, like add them up at the end. Like, the judges
Yeah,
aren't. Sometimes I've heard judges say they'll write it down and then they'll sort of think about it. But like if you can make those back poses comparable, you know, even if Derek wins both of them, there's still like you said, the front double, the other shots like the ab and thigh as well, which there's sort of like controversy about Derek's ab and thigh, like whether the vacuum should be judged as the pose. And then when he crunched down at the last Olympia, it wasn't as good. He said it's going to be better, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, like when I don't know I was on a podcast with someone, and when you go through the shots, it's like I think you can easily go, okay, we'll turn to the back. Derek has one of the best back doubles probably of all time, like you said, and that's a rough comparison. But when you go through the other shots, I was on with Ken,
Xavier.
and he's like,
Yeah.
when you go through the
And
other
me.
ones, he's like, yeah, and you, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But Ken was saying,
Yeah.
he's like,
And
when you go
Merck
through the other
on
shots,
this
it's like, yeah,
podcast.
yeah, yeah. I wasn't sure which one it
Yeah.
was. Yeah. I just got off another
I
podcast
know.
just then, and
Yeah,
then last week.
I
you're
know
in
you
the
got
AMA
look.
one.
Yeah,
Everybody's doing the circuit. Everybody's doing the circuit. But no, that's exactly what we did on the podcast with Colossus Ken. And at first, when I told Ken, I was like, man, this guy has the potential to do top 3 and compare with Derek. And Ken was like, man, think about what you're saying. I said, I have thought about what I said, you know? And when you went shot for shot, Ken started to go, I don't know if you saw it when he was talking about you, but he was like, yeah, okay, well, front double, yeah, maybe. Front lat spread, yeah, probably. Side shots, yeah, okay, you might be onto something. And you go shot
Mm.
for shot, and it's true, you know? As of
Yeah.
right now, I have you in my top. Well, I've had you in my top 3, and you will continue to be in my top 3. Um, the only thing that got me though, I actually I've had you ahead of Derek, but I'll tell you what actually did it for me. When you were on the Dennis James podcast, you actually said that you predicted you won't beat Derek. So I was like, well, if this guy doesn't think I can, that he thinks he can beat him, I was like, now I'm going to have to put him below Derek. Do you want to change that stance, maybe?
Um, he's a former Mr. Olympia, and I want to give credit where credit is due, and obviously, like that's something that has to be seen, when it happens, and I think that even if it comes up like, hey, like, he didn't beat Derek, or he didn't surpass these other guys. It's really for me to be make these people go, well, damn, that was pretty close. Like, well, maybe he could have. Similar to what Martin did to Derek at the Olympia, where it was like, could Martin have been third? Maybe. I wouldn't
yeah.
have been mad at it. And that's my goal is like I'm obviously my goal is to be my best and to, take some places away from these people. And I
But
think
you
that's
want to start the conversation, is what you're
yes,
saying.
yes, yes. I think
Yeah.
that
Okay.
that right there
Okay.
holds a lot of weight as the competitor that I am, and being like a younger guy in the sport, like coming up. um, is getting that talk around like, well, damn, like, okay, he could have been very, very close, right? So then that gets people talking, and then that's in the minds of the judges, that's in the minds of the people, and that could carry forth onto other shows. So I think that holds a lot of weight. But you know, I still want to be able to be comparative to these guys, and take some shots away, and see what happens. I'll let the judges make the call on that day. But the conversation, the court of public opinion, I think that holds a lot of weight too. And I want to be able to make that impact and make that statement.
Well,
And I think
it
like
could
top
start a
5 is
serious
where the impact
conversation
is.
for Pittsburgh. It, it's Detroit that you're doing. Sorry, right?
Yes, Detroit, yes, which is turning out to be a very stacked show as well. Very nice.
Well, and it
Yeah.
could start the conversation for that show. Leading into that, it can build right up to that. So that's an interesting
Mm.
stance. That's an interesting stance. Just starting the conversation. I like it. Mark, you missed a lot of the conversation.
Bro, man, I'm sorry. I thought I still had 20 minutes. I was out there shoveling. I have all kinds of time. I'm sorry, man.
He was in a rhythm. He was in a rhythm. I got it from Robin Strand a couple of times. He's like, "Sorry, man, I forgot. I just kind of kept training. Sorry."
I didn't forget. I thought
I get it.
I have all kinds of time. I come in and I'm looked down. Oh no. Seen you sent the message.
It's all good. It's all good.
By the way, Carlos,
Give
have you
us
done a podcast with Mark yet? Because we call him lagging Mark because his mouth goes about 5 seconds after his voice.
Oh, I have not had the pleasure, but I enjoy your channel. I just watched the one where you compared 2015 Phil Heath with was it
Oh, okay.
2000 Ronnie Coleman?
2000,
2000.
yeah.
Yeah,
I was
that's
just
That's
watching that
awesome. Yeah.
also. Yeah.
No, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan. So
yeah, I love the videos, man. It's awesome. Keep it up.
it's surreal hearing you guys know that you guys watch the videos. It's crazy, really. No,
Yeah.
two very underrated versions of those guys. Nobody
Yeah,
talks about.
yeah. 2015
Yeah.
he was good. He was good. He came back and
But
tried to solidify that his abdomen was flat after getting those allegations in 2014.
Yep.
I was at
So
the 2014 one, and it felt like it was like a sort of flat Olympia a little bit, because I was like, I really wanted to see like Phil at his best or Kai to win, so it's like an iconic Olympia. But I feel
Right.
like it was like you knew Phil was going to win. Kai wasn't good enough that year, but if he was, he could have beaten Phil. And I was just like, But then Kai spiced it up by like flicking his hair in Phil's face. I think we spoke about that, or I spoke about
That's
that on something the other day.
that would have been cool to see, to witness.
Yeah, and also Kai at the press conference too. Like he went pretty hard. Like he said something about Phil, and I was like, oh, and it got a bit sensitive. Yeah, it got a bit weird. But yeah, there's a few people actually in the crowd. I don't know if it was like family, but they yelled at Kai when he said a few things. Like he said something about Phil or something, and then like I think it was family or something in the crowd yelled at Kai like pretty aggressively. It was like
Wow.
a bit tense in the in the arena.
You got to
Were you
treat
there,
it like
Carlos?
a show.
Yeah.
You can't really get involved.
Carlos, were you there at that 2014?
No, but I was that's actually when I started getting into bodybuilding and you know, I competed in my first shows that summer. But no, I remember when he flicked the hair and I remember the press conference. I think he was like mocking him, saying he's like crying like a baby or something like that. Or it
Yeah.
was then yeah, he went a little hard on him.
Yeah. It
He went a little hard
was
on
good
him.
though. It made it entertaining for me. I was like, oh,
Yeah, Bob Ciccarello, he was kind of stirring the pot a little bit at the press conference.
yeah, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, Bob's good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, well, it's entertainment.
That's why they pay him.
Yes. The big
Yeah,
bucks.
that's
I'm
why they
sure.
pay him. Yeah. Carlos,
Yes, sir.
one thing actually that I also wanted to mention. I heard that Dennis told you to stay focused on the Detroit, you know, as opposed to the Olympia kind of thing, right? Because he thinks that the Detroit is the show that you'll actually come in and you could win, right? I actually like the fact that you know, you're doing both here because, you know, you really see the best of the best saying, like, I'm going into the show to win. But the fact that you're doing the Arnold first and you still have that attitude when it comes to Detroit is really something, man. Who else is in Detroit right now?
Man, a lot of guys are coming over. I think Vito is jumping into it, which makes sense, right? Is he doing it? Because he said he was like, I mean, it's 1 week apart from the Arnold South America, so I don't know if he is, but if he is, then that's great because I think you know, I mean, we got some. It's going to be some big legs on the stage. It'll be pretty cool. But James is going to do it, and then one of my favorite bodybuilders is come. He made his comeback last year. Sasan Harati. He's going to
Oh
do
yeah,
the Detroit. So that's super awesome to be able to stand on stage with him because I saw the New York Pro that he did. I think it was 2017.
Something like that.
And man, he looked
yeah.
phenomenal. Shafted him, bro. They
Yeah.
shafted him because he could have been like top two. And I think he got like fifth or something like that, or something. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he
It's fourth,
looked
fifth, or sixth, somewhere around
yeah,
there.
he looked somewhere around there, but he looked phenomenal. Like it was crazy. So it'd be awesome to step on stage, get a
So
chance to
he's
meet him.
in.
Yeah. And then RPG, man, that guy's wide as a fucking barnyard door, dude. He's huge. So that's gonna be awesome to stand next to him. And then I think there's some other guys. Who's
Bonak's doing it.
at Bonac? Yes, I think yeah,
Yeah.
Boss mentioned that Bonac's doing it. And then there's a young guy who's making his pro debut, Justin Abbott. He
Oh, okay.
yeah, we competed in nationals in 2021, but he just won his pro card at the nationals in 2023. So
Oh, James Hollingshead is doing it too.
yeah,
Oh,
yes.
is James
Yeah.
doing it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a good little lineup. Some new guys in there, some younger guys, some older guys. So I think it's gonna be a good mix.
What
No,
about the
it
guy
looks
that
like
was
it,
in the
man.
Detroit there that won the most? He won most ripped. Is he not doing that show?
Yeah, that's Ron Gordon.
RPG.
Ron Gordon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Art Gordon. Yep.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that's who he
So
said.
I'd be knowing Instagram names RPG.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I like
Half the
his-
time people get called by their Instagram names. It gets confusing because like
Like,
even like
Carlos
Yeah.
Vito,
Thomas.
it's a
It's
random name. It's a random. He's just known by that now. No one knows him by Vitali Golden.
Vitaly. Yeah.
It's like everyone
No,
just
it's
knows
good
him as Good
Vito. That's it.
Well, I
No.
think they even
Yeah,
call him
that's it.
Good Vito on NPC.
Really? I'm a
I
competitor's
believe
No,
so.
they don't.
First name-
Vitaly Good Vito, I think.
What's do you guys know Horse MD's real name?
It's Marcellus
Marcelo D'Angelo's.
Marcelo D'Angelis. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
D'Angelis,
they were-
I'm impressed you all
Yeah,
knew that.
even Milos was like, I don't even know what the MD stands for. I'm like, his name is Marcellus D'Angelo.
medical doctor.
Yeah, man.
I thought it was Pablo Lopez.
Yeah, I was like, you don't know.
Yeah, you did it. You did. What show was that where you confused those two? Was it Romania? No,
You're thinking of Superset Man, I
I'm
think.
thinking. Yeah, I'm thinking of someone else, right? Yeah, I'm thinking of someone else. But even on show
Was
listings, Horse MD puts himself down as like Marcelo Horse.
Horse. Yeah, Marcelo Horse. I saw that on a competitive list.
But you got to go
Someone
out of
said
your way to actually do that, man. Like
Good
you
to have
must
it
have to
someone
just
said
go out of your way.
online.
Make sure you get my name right.
Someone's one of his friends apparently said online is because he was using like vet grade or something like that. I'm like, really?
Yeah, they're using
probably.
in Canada it's Ventapulin, but it's horse clenbuterol.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Wow.
They
Because
call
they've
it.
got where I'm from down here in Tasmania, like the big thing was like test pro, but it was like came in like big half a liter bladders. Like and people would sell like $1,000 or something.
Maybe he's just using a lot of EQ. It's just like he's calling horse.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. I
That's
saw
funny.
Fuad mentioned EQ. He was on the Transparent podcast recently, and he said that's actually one of the compounds that he said that he wouldn't do if he could go back again. And I was like, I thought EQ was supposed to be a mild compound. That's how it was always presented around my gym when I was a kid, but apparently not.
Hmm.
Yeah, some people say it could be renal toxic, like toxic and stuff. I haven't used it in a bit. I guess I have shifted over to more of like that, that Primo Masteron test. I think I think that's more what guys are going towards now. And then even trend doses aren't even as high as now. They're more going around like that 25 to maybe pushing it at 50 milligrams every other day.
Yeah, it's
Like
low.
yeah,
It's
way
getting to be
low.
mild. Yeah.
It's getting to be mild, and it's good to see though. It's good that people see
Hmm.
like the that you don't have you can get a lot from a little bit, and just keep the training and the food, let that do the work.
Hmm. Samson sort of proved that at the moment, like because Fuad mentioned it on his podcast. I don't know if he's meant to, but because he's talking with Samson, and Samson said he only had two compounds in at that stage, however many weeks ago it was. But like Samson's realized he doesn't need as much as he used to. Like it's at a certain point, I think, because he competed and competed and competed, pulling it back is probably clearing a bit of toxicity out of his system and freshening his body up in a way. So I think that Samson, it's like his body just hit a point where it just started growing and now it's just not going to stop. Like he can just do small
The
amounts.
transformation has been crazy, man. Like from 2020, was it 2020? Which Arnold did he win? The 2022,
22.
20,
22.
Yeah.
22?
22.
Yeah, man. From that was crazy, man. He looked like he's
Oh,
more
yeah.
like his back has just like I'm looking at his workouts like what is he doing? Is he doing something different?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Breaking
so
them
it's great.
chains.
Yeah, man. Like he's fucking doing his thing, man. And like even the update he just dropped like a couple days ago, I just had to throw my hands in the air. I was like, well,
Yeah,
everybody,
he looks thick.
everybody's fighting for second. Good job.
He looks very thick.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Condition
It
too.
does.
yeah.
Yeah. He's been that condition from since he started really doing regular updates. 7 weeks out, I think he was really showing like the full round of the mandatory poses.
Yeah.
Like conditioned, he's there. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
ready. He's
Even
cruising
his weight
right now.
control got better because there was it was at 23 Olympia where it was kind of like a little not the step like he was just kind of like breathing through his midsection a little
Yeah.
bit, but
Yeah.
now it's like
That was
tight.
the big difference, the midsection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Nah,
Yeah.
he's cruising.
yeah. So
He's
and
ready.
I'm pretty sure it's not even that hard for him to like push food now to get up to that weight. Like he probably just eats like just kind of and just he just grows now. Like he probably doesn't have to push the food up as high as he has to anymore.
Yeah.
Which
He
would make
doesn't.
That's
He
one thing
actually
he
doesn't.
said.
yeah,
Yeah,
like his
that's
waist even
one thing he
smaller
said.
now. He doesn't have to fucking force food. Jesus, man. Sorry. I'm just like caught up now. I'm like, that guy's a fucking beast, dude.
Yeah, it's funny because he I remember pushing above 300, like to 310. He's like, man, he's like, I remember talking to him and he's like, I'm struggling. Like, he's like, oh, I don't eat anymore. He's hating it. And now he's like, yeah, I'm sitting comfortable at 327.
Yeah,
I'm
now he's
like, sitting
conditioned at like
comfortable?
305. It's like, what?
He's no stress either. He's more relaxed. I'm the Olympia champion. He can kind of just
Mm.
when things were you're stressed out about stuff, probably affects you and hard to eat.
He
Yeah.
seems
It would
less
be more
stressed
pressure
as
for some
well.
people, though. But it'd be more
Yeah.
pressure for some people. Like, when was the last time we saw an Olympia
That's
champion
true.
go
That's
right into
true.
the Arnold?
That's what makes
Right?
champions. Some people get
Yep.
dwarfed by the moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some
And
people
he
step
just
up.
loves to compete too. He just genuinely loves to compete.
That
He
helps.
said he would compete. Yeah. Even if he won the Olympia, he said that he would probably compete. He wasn't really firm on it, but the guy just loves to compete, man. It really is no wonder why he is an Olympia champion, because he does. Obviously, he works hard and all that fun shit. He just loves it.
Yeah, he's a
Genuinely.
quality dude too, man. Like he's a super quality human
Oh
being.
yeah.
He's awesome, man. That makes it all the better. But yeah, I just like he is he definitely that goes to show you in bodybuilding, like there's levels to it all. And that's in, these Mr. Olympias are top tier genetics. And I think that, like, not discarding obviously hard work, but man, this dude he's a rocket ship, dude, and I don't think he's slowing down anytime soon. So best of luck to
Mm.
everyone and myself.
Is there any shots where you think you can beat him?
Dude, he's just so tall and so filled in. Like, I can argue this with Andrew, and I got to get back from Andrew because he beat me in 2023. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so that's on my mind. And I love Andrew. Um, but he when he hits his side shots, everyone can see that, like, he's not as filled in on certain things, and he has very long limbs. Um, but man, like, Samson's so thick and filled in, like everything is just and he can keep getting better, and it doesn't look like it's going to change his physique for the worse. Like, some guys are maxed out and they're just like, well, if he puts any more muscle on, he might distort this. But it's just like, if he puts some more muscle on, it's just going to make him look even better. And that's the scary part about it. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I got to get right. That's one where I got to look and see when I get up on the stage with him, because like, all credit where credit is due. He just is a he is a he's yeah, he's a freak too. He's doing his thing, dude. It's crazy, and I'm just impressed. I'm so impressed by it because, like, it's I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. I mean, obviously we've seen Phil Heath and his rise, and how he came onto the scene, and we've seen Big Ramy in his younger years, and obviously Ronnie Coleman. But I would say, obviously Ramy won his Olympia when he was a little bit older, and the physique wasn't the same as, like, 2013, 2014, 2015, and 2016. And then, we had Brandon, which was a great physique. But yeah, his legs were always a little slight. And then Derek was great with his back, but everyone's like, well, his chest is a little bit like this, and then maybe his arms and his legs are a little bit slight. But I think Samson's so complete, and his stature is so huge. He says it's a crazy stature, and now that the conditioning's coming and his back is getting better. Man, he might be one of those guys that could pull off one of these generational runs for a couple years, and I mean, if he doesn't slip up. So
It
yeah.
may be. I mean, that's a good stance to take going up against Samson, but you think you can beat Andrew?
Yeah, I think I can get some shots on Andrew for sure, and take him down. Because, like I said, he's a taller guy. But I feel like the side shots, I'm very thick from my chest, shoulders, arms, my hamstring with the side shots. And then I think my back's improved enough to keep up with his for sure. And then from the glutes and hams, I think that that'll be very complete. I bringing up the glutes was something I really wanted to work on, so we can bring detail to that muscle group. So I trained glutes a lot within my leg days. And then, again, like, I have a pretty good shape too. It may not be the Mona Lisa, but hey, it's up there.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. You being the shorter competitor and having the proportions that you have more on the mass monster side of things, you're not trying to fill out your frame, but you do have very good aesthetics for your height, very round muscle bellies with the small midsection. It's
Yeah.
it's just a different type of very impressive frame overall. The question is going to be, who's going to bring the conditioning, I think, is what it's going to come down to.
That's
Because
very true.
it, and if you have it, then I agree. I think from the side, there's definitely arguments that could be made for you there. If you are saying that you've brought your back up enough to compare with Andrews, in the lower body, I mean, if the conditioning factor is there, I don't think it's going to be a question. Upper body wise, that's going to be awesome to see. Awesome. Wide as a house, of course, as well. Andrew's taking the abs and thigh. He has the greatest abs and thigh in all of bodybuilding history. And I'll argue that with anybody.
Fair.
Yeah, most muscular again. Like if the conditioning's there,
Yeah.
this is why it's going to be so exciting of a lineup, and why I'm really really excited to see how you're going to stack up when it comes to standing with some of these bigger names, man. And Patrick Tor in your camp, like conditioning is something we saw Patrick. A lot of people don't even understand the conditioning that he's brought with some competitors. Like Fred, like look at the conditioning from some of the 212 guys that he brought in, like Fran Varios, right? Go back and look at his pictures from the previous season. Conditioning was ridiculous.
Yeah,
Keon. Yeah.
Keon's an easy one. That's an easy one.
Yeah,
But I'm talking go down the line. He doesn't miss.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Aaron Pilates,
he doesn't
who's
miss.
a friend of mine, like in Australia, when he worked with Patrick, he got to the Olympia, placed 9th, I think is in the 212. So it's like, yeah, he's very consistent. And I know he's got like certain protocols he does, but then he's making him like Aaron do like, ice baths and do certain things like that, like extra sort of protocol stuff to make sure Aaron was sort of on his shit. But like, Carlos, I was wondering if you would have like the Derek effect at the 2023 Olympia, where Derek came out, and even on the stream you got it, but people in person said like Derek just opened up on that front relaxed, and people were like, holy shit. And then he hit his front double, and like people were like, wow. But apparently, from what I've heard from people there in person, he didn't have as much of that wow this year, maybe just because the waist was like maybe a little bit thicker and the legs weren't quite as big. But you've got the round legs as well. So I'm wondering if you could have that effect where you come out, hit the front relax, hit the front double, and people are like, holy crap, and at least get that sort of initial thing, and then straight into the first call out and straight somewhere in the middle. Like, I'm wondering if that can happen where you're, it's Carlos and then the predicted top three. Like, I would love to see that happen. You get in the mix there straight away, so you get that straight off comparison, because I think you'll have that wow factor, especially from the front and sides. Like, there's no doubt about that. And then from the back, it's just about being detailed enough, really, because Derek, he has the cutout glutes. He has even from the side on the leg, he's got that really sharp detail. So if you're able to get more of that with your hamstrings, like that's sort of an underrated body part of yours, I'd say, because they hang like crazy. So if you can get that detail on that side leg, it's like, that's going to be so dangerous.
Yeah, man. And that's what we're working on, is just conditioning has been the main focus for for this prep, and I think we've done it the right way. We didn't we didn't force anything. My body, we just let it do what it's what it wanted to do, and the result is like I mentioned earlier, it was just like almost like a recomp, like growing into the show. So we hit a weight, and then my body just started to just change from there. So, and even the week from last week, now it's getting to the point where it's just changing daily, and like the looks from last week is just we're light years ahead of that. So I'm super excited for it. It's been just like a dream come true to be able to do this prep, because I've always had super like aspirations to be on the Arnold stage. I didn't know it would be this early, but to be able to come out there and stand next to these guys and be in front of the fans and possibly, and I want to bring that wow factor, and I think I can, because I have a physique with round muscle bellies. I have the small waist, so when I come out there, man, I'm going to have fun and show people a good physique, and hopefully it's enough, like I said, to catch some guys lacking, and that's the goal.
Oh yeah, can't wait for it, man. It's such an exciting Arnold, like such an exciting Arnold, because just there's such a so many different ways it can go. It's like, can you beat this guy? Yeah. Can he beat you? Yeah. And it's just like that throughout so much of the lineup. So it's like, I think everyone's predictions after like the top 3 to 4 are going to be so mixed up. But I think a lot of people have, Samson in first, maybe Derek in second.
Yeah. And you have freaking Sean and Akeem is doing his like 10th show or whatever from in a year's span or some stuff.
Dylan Rose was 4th last year, and he's in there. And he's probably going to improve too.
He's dangerous too.
Yeah. I feel like everyone leaves him out, including me.
Yeah. And I think John has a crazy physique, and the comeback that he made was amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be so fun, man.
So we're not far from the show now, but 5.5 weeks, right? You're telling me that your back is massively improved from where it was. One thing that would really, really break the internet is, and as much as I'd love to see you do it now, and you guys might agree, 3 weeks from the show, post a back picture, break the internet if it's where you say it is, and then everybody's going to be really starting a conversation going into the show. Xavier, how exciting would that be? Come on.
Yeah, I'd like that. Yeah. Give me more content.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just send me a message before you post it so I know.
Yeah, really though. Yeah, yeah.
Let him reveal it.
Send,
Let him reveal it.
yeah, send it our way first. How do you feel about guys that ask you to continuously post back updates, Carlos? Like a lot of people say, why aren't you, if you're not posting the back updates, it's because you're hiding something. Do you feel like you're hiding something?
No, no, I don't feel like I'm hiding anything. I just post whatever my coach posts, like I don't post anything.
Okay.
Like,
Buddy Patrick just
if you look at
does
my
he just
page, it's not
rogue
me
post
posting
them?
it. Say again?
Does he just rogue post them, like not even ask you and just post them, or what does he do?
Yeah, I mean, he asked me one time. I said, "It's cool, Pat, post whatever you want to post." So I sent him pictures or whatever, and he posted my back lat spread from my posing with Kenny Wallach this morning, and yeah, so I mean, it's like it's like it's just whatever he wants
Yeah.
to post.
Xavier's going to look, see?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
so, like I'm not like a social media guy, like I don't really like I do it because obviously it's what we have to do in this day and
You're playing
age.
the game. Yeah.
But my job is to bring the best I can on stage, and like at the end of the day, I'm not gonna come off stage and say, but like, wait, look at my old social media posts, and
Yeah.
this was you remember this one that went viral, right? Place, right? Like that's not gonna hold any weight, So the thing that I'm gonna do is bring what I can bring to
Pretty good.
Okay.
that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
There's the back.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I can think
Yeah.
I can
There it is.
back lat spread.
Yeah, it does. The details definitely coming in. Definitely coming
You
in.
got those lines through the lower traps too. Like you can see
I'm
it.
Yeah.
Like
I'm a front to
popping
back
more.
guy, like the front's coming in is gonna come in first, and then the back's gonna come in last. Like that's just how it is for me.
Okay. That's fair to say.
Yeah, like I wish I had the problem of like a Derek where it was like, oh well, he's a little softer from the front. All right. But like my chest is striated, my quads are striated right now. Like, what I mean, like that's
That
like
is good.
that's just what it is for me. Like my abs are lean, and it's just
Hmm.
the one it's just the back is like it starts at the top of my back and goes all the way down. So it's just what it is.
Yeah, even that back shot, to be honest with you, is a bit of a teaser, but that's all right. Look, we're gonna find out real soon, exactly what's gonna come into fruition when it comes to the Arnold. This is one of the most exciting Arnold lineups in man, it seems like every year it's just getting better and better and better. Since Nick really took it in 2021, I feel like it's just been more and more and more. It's just been really, really exciting lineups, man. Really exciting.
Yeah, it has. And then, like and I think it's going to trickle down to the rest of the year. Like I think Detroit's going to be a great show. I think FIBO is going to be a great show that comes back. You got guys like James
Yep.
doing it, leading into Pittsburgh and what they're doing over there with the Expo and having open bodybuilding now. That's going to fall right into New York. And then you have, Legion doing the smart thing and saying, wait a second, let's move up to May where there's all these like powerhouse shows, Pittsburgh, New York, Cali, Legion. Like
Is Legion in May? I thought it was in June.
well, June, maybe May or June. Yeah. So but it's
You
all
got the
around
calendar there, right?
Well, it's on a Sunday, so if it starts on a Saturday, that's in May.
yeah. Well, it's on that it's in the time frame where, those shows can be, guys can hit those shows all back to back is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
New York's the 17th, and then following week is Cali, and
yep,
right before that's
Okay.
Pittsburgh.
yep.
Yeah, I
So
got the year
Okay.
calendar, and it's awesome. I look at it, I got a sticker on where there's an event.
yeah. And then you have
Yeah.
and then you have Dubai, doing crazy numbers. So
Yep, that's
I mean,
after Spain.
I think this year is going to be a great year for bodybuilding. With a bunch of good young guys and a lot of the older competitors, still in their primes, or guys, just coming into their primes. So it's gonna be a great year. I'm excited to be a part of it.
So let's say that you don't win in Detroit. Are you going to keep competing until you get an Olympia qualification, or do you have a cap for this year?
There's no cap on the year. It's just all about, the discussion I have, with my corner with the people around me, because obviously like bodybuilding is a selfish sport, and I want to make sure that everyone who's contributing to me, I contribute back to their lives as well. So I already told them like, hey, like I want to compete a lot this year, and I told Patrick that, so they understand. Like, I don't know if I'll go straight to Arnold's South America, if I do FIBO, or if we'll take some time off and go to and butt heads with guys in Pittsburgh, New York, Cali, maybe the Legion. I don't know yet. The top two focuses are the Arnold and Detroit, and then we'll go from there. But my goal is to compete a lot this year. I want to do multiple shows. Well, I will be doing multiple shows, but after that.
Yeah. And in the right lineup, I think bringing that conditioning factor, of course, we could see you on the Olympia stage this year.
Oh,
So
easily.
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you think about that. Texas is Hunter Labrada and Andrew Jack, who are top 5 in the world. So
Yeah, and
without those
compared
two
very
guys,
well.
you would have won that show. So easily you could win a show.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think I'll be 10 times better than that than what we brought there, especially with the conditioning factor. So I'm excited, man. It's gonna be
Should.
great. It's gonna be
Well, that was
awesome.
your debut,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
That
I
was
mean,
my
that
debut.
was a great debut.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Third. And like I said, top, it doesn't really matter what you place. Look at the guy, Hunter Labrada and Andrew Jack.
Yeah, and they were really good too. There was
That
that was
was
Juju at
arguably both of them at their best,
yeah, yeah.
to be
And
honest.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you, I was talking with a friend of mine earlier, actually, and he competed for years. One thing he was wondering was what you did when it came to your diet, going from a middleweight, and going up to, what was it, heavyweight or super heavyweight that you got to? A very short period of time. What was your diet like for making that jump?
oh man. I just really locked into not treating the off season like an off season. Like obviously the food increased. So when I was working with Patrick around that time, my off season was, probably like 120 to 150 grams of raw weight rice and meals. Protein was pretty low, probably around like 5 ounces cooked around that time. Fats were pretty low as well. We used some intra-carbs, well, excuse me, not intra-carbs, but post and pre and post like carbohydrate drinks. Um, so yeah, my carbs were probably around to 120 to 100 to 120 grams, maybe 150 grams of carbs, per meal, varying on the time of the day. So carbohydrates were really high for me because I never ate that much before. Um, but it was also just me like really sticking to that plan. Before I would get the plan and then I would be like, okay, well, well, today's a Tuesday, whatever. I'm having a night off. I'm gonna have a burger with my girlfriend, right, or something like that. Or, like I had a really hard training session. Let's go have some sushi. Like, and it's normal to do that, right? But when I really linked up with Patrick, it was like the mentality switched to where I was like, all right, like I'm getting all these meals in, and not that I couldn't eat the food, but like I made an active choice to eat all the meals, not veer away from the plan. And the food actually got so high that like I didn't even want any cheat meals. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want any extra food because I'm so full all the time. And it was like I would like wake up around I would because I was like, like I was just obviously just so full, and I would probably go to bed around like 10 o'clock. I'd take like a 2 hour little nap, and I'd wake up and I'd have my last like meal around like 12:30 because I was just tired from the day, tired from work, tired from training, and I was like, I can't stay up any later. I need to get some sleep. So I'd take a nap and I'd eat my last meal around like 12:30. So, or sometimes if it was a little bit later, I'd wake up around 1:30 and get that last meal in, go back to sleep, and then wake up, 6, 7 hours later and start the process all over again. But my goal was like, I'm not gonna miss any meals, no matter what. So, and that's what happened. And my body grew from it. So my off season, I treated like a prep. I literally did. Like I did all the cardio, I ate all the food, and I just did all those things that you would do in a prep, right? We do our cardio, we do our food, we take our supplements, like we drink our water. We're so regimented during the prep. I just took that and made it and put it into my off season, and it just my body just obviously just grew and exploded from it because I was getting all the food that it needed, and then it helped out because I was slowly making that transitioning to like finding out about my ulcerative colitis and stuff like that. So being on such a clean diet helped out because I wasn't eating any like off-plan meals that were spicy, and I wasn't eating any like wheat products or something like that that had like gluten in it. So because I had a test, I was gluten sensitive. So had sensitivity to gluten. So yeah, it really was just treating that off season like a prep, and I just nailed it, man. I remember that off season because I was getting ready for nationals, and I remember I could, man, like my training was intense too. I was eating so much food, so my training was intense. My strength was high. I went to Dubai for like my first, like after 4 months of like no off plan meals. I had one off plan meal that whole week. I know, I mean, like one off plan meal a day, like that for that week, but it was like clean. It was like um like seafood, or it was like beef or something like that. Um and like I remember being so strong, man. Like I squatted like 6'10", with Larry Wills for 8 reps.
Yes.
Wow.
You're lucky
And
you didn't get injured, bro. Everyone gets injured with him.
I
Like
know, I
tear a
know.
muscle or
But I was
something.
but everything was just like it was during that time. Like, man, I was so strong, and like it was like one of my best off seasons I ever had. So, yeah, that was that's my whole spiel on it, man. It was just like I was just laser focused.
How high did your calories
When
get? Do you
things are
know?
clicking, they're clicking.
Yeah, I really didn't count the calories back then. I'd have to pull out the meal plan because I still have it, but
Just roughly.
um, man, going off of like just like the carbohydrates, it was probably around maybe like 6,000 calories, maybe. You know,
Yeah.
like,
So
yeah, like 5,500 to 6,000 calories.
A
Because
lot.
yeah, carbohydrates were high, protein was moderate, and my fats were somewhat like I would say like low to moderate. Um, but yeah, man, it was high food for me. It was like, yeah, around 5,500 calories to 6,000 almost.
yeah, it's a lot. So you adapted your training to accommodate for that as well. You could do whatever you wanted. You could go all out. You could do the drop sets, supersets, anything that you wanted to do, and you still had your strength probably going up. Like that's yeah, I could see how you would adapt to that. Did um did your father have anything to do with your training at that point, or is he mostly just helping you, with the preps?
During that time, I was training with my buddy, Kyle Smith. He was my trainer during that time, and we were just like that. That was his main like thing, and now he owns like a auto business with like his brother because that's like their family business. So he moved away from the fitness and got more into that, which is great because he's more money for him.
Making
um,
money, yeah.
hell yeah! So, but during that time, we were working together. He was training me, and yeah, we had a great run.
So, but your father training you now.
Yeah.
Um, how did that end up coming about? Like your father training you full time.
So we always trained together, even when I was like playing football through like high school into college. When I would come home for the summers, he would, help me with my weight training program that the coaches gave me. So we would go to the gym, he would lift a little bit, and then he would help spot me on bench press and squats and all that stuff. So when I shifted to bodybuilding, I was mostly working out alone, kind of working out with some training partners here and there. But whenever it came down to like the nitty-gritty of like, ah man, I need somebody to help me out. Like he owns his own business, HVAC and plumbing. And
Okay.
so he's great, and he can adapt his schedule to me sometimes, or I can adapt it to his. So we work around each other's schedule, and we just find a time where it can always remain consistent that we're in the gym together, and we're training. So for this prep, he was just like, look, like I'm gonna be in the gym with you every time. Like, we're gonna make it work. And I was
He's
like,
with
okay,
you, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, we found a time that worked for both of us, and we just consistently hit that time, and we're in there, and he's would put me through the paces, like my structure is laid out, between me and Patrick, as far as like my split and everything, and I consult with him about like the order of my exercises. But as far as like the progression of the load and everything, like that's me, and obviously, my father is, making sure I'm pushing myself, and or obviously, like I mentioned earlier, telling me when to pull back when, it might be too much.
Yeah.
Do you find it hard to listen to your father sometimes? Like I took this diving company that I own now over from my father, and I definitely had times where we did not agree, and I ended up going with sometimes what he wanted and sometimes what I wanted. Do you guys find that you guys can, come to an agreement on things?
Yeah, not so much when I was younger. I was a little bit like, You don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah. How about for this prep though? How about for this
Yeah,
one? You got like communication's definitely going to be a big one, especially when you're getting to
yeah,
this point, because once you start getting 4 weeks out, you don't want to do any thinking anymore.
yeah, yeah. But this time around, like, we definitely, there's the communication's open, and I listen to him. Like if I'll give it like an example. This was like, I guess, like maybe at beginning of December. I got a little under the weather, but I was still strong. I was still like, I was pushing 4 plates on incline. I was benching like 170 on the dumbbells, and I was really strong. Pulling, like four, five, 4 or 5 plates from the floor, rowing like 3, 4 plates. I was really strong. But I was sick, but I was still dragging my ass in the gym, and he could tell because like all I had was energy enough to go to the gym. Like I'd work, I'd sleep, I'd work my job, and then like when it was time to go be done with that, I'd sleep some more, and then I'd go to the gym, come home, and pass out because that's literally all I had the energy for. So he was like, "Look, you're sick. This is what we're gonna do. You're gonna take a little bit of a deload this week." And you're gonna let your body chill and relax. And then I talked to Patrick about it, and then Patrick said, "Yeah, make sure you're resting." And then I was like, okay, well, two people that I listened to were influential to me, both told me to rest. So I was like, well, I got to listen to both of them.
You need
uh,
that permission, but hey, you need that
yeah,
permission.
yeah, yeah. Because sometimes you need
I
permission to
get
take,
it.
especially when you're, like, being so you're so in the trenches of like, hey, like I didn't know if I was going to get into the Arnold Classic, but I was like, I'm gonna be prepared. And so yeah, like, that was a time where
Okay.
I had to take that time and listen to him to really be like, okay, like let me just take the advice and take the rest. So that's what we did. um but yeah, like he's been very influential, during his prep, especially with the training.
It's an interesting dynamic. It's a very interesting dynamic, but it seems like that is something that's working for you. It seems like everything is firing on all cylinders. I'm always interested to see how training is going and, the interactions with not just coaches, but the people that you have around you when it comes to getting this deep into prep. Are they adding to your training or is it something that's, taking away from your training and the decisions have to be made? Look at James Hollingshead, perfect example. 6 weeks out or so, he left the gym that he's at now and now has to uproot and go to another place, which he can adapt, of course, and he's doing well. But it's one factor that you would rather not happen around 6 weeks out, right? So when things like that happen, I'm always like, okay, there's a bit of a change, right? How's that going to affect their prep?
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
but for you, you've got your consistency, you've got good communication, your training is clicking along. It seems like everything is adding up to you bringing, your best to the stage in 2025.
It really is. And then, mentally it helps me, it helps me stay out of my head because, I'm a guy who, um, I can get like anxious about the process, and more concerned with like the outcome. But, being able to, have a Patrick in my corner, have my, obviously, like my family and everything in my corner, it really has, lessened that anxiety, of like, well, am I going to be my best? And like now I don't like wonder. I just know, I just know it, and it feels great to be like, trusting in that process. And everyone has always told me trust the process, but but now I'm really am, and I'm not only trusting it, I'm enjoying it because I get to do it with the people that I love. So
Why you're going to bring your best. Mark, where does Carlos place in the Arnold Classic lineup?
definitely get as high as it's possible. Third place is definitely possible, I would say. And you got a lot
Yep.
of hungry lions in there. So I mean, fifth and sixth, it would be great because you got Bonac, you got Clarita. If you can beat any of those guys, I mean, that's a victory right there.
Mhm.
And it's possible. It's possible.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Xavier, what do you think?
Well, in my predictions, like I put Carlos in my head anywhere from like fourth in my predictions down to like eighth because the lineup is so stacked in there. It's like you can go for guys who are like been super consistent. Bonac's probably gonna, he just placed what was it, seventh in the Olympia. So you're like,
Yeah.
he's gonna be somewhere knocking on the door of that sort of like top 4 sort of range. You got Brandon who just put out an update that was like super impressive. Then obviously you, Carlos, you're like your updates the freakiest of those bunch. So it's like, like what I want is obviously I want to see Carlos like at his best in condition, but like just in your head, you're like, okay, what's the chance of that happening? It's just like, 80% chance or whatever, or 70 or whatever you say in your head. And then you're like, okay, maybe it's 90%, 95 that Bonac hits it, So you just go off those averages. But I have Carlos in, I think it's fifth in my predictions at the moment, fifth or sixth. But based on your updates, Carlos, I feel like you're going to put out some updates and I'm going to be like fourth, straight away. So it's
I'll
tough
tell
to
you one
predict.
nice thing. There's one nice thing about these. I find that this season's different than previous seasons when it comes to predictions because you can do them further out and maybe you can change them a little bit. When in previous seasons, I feel like it was like, no, you make your decision and that's it. You're making them, right? But now
Yeah, I normally
I
do
find
two
that
lots of predictions.
predictions,
That's it.
that's it? No, we'll do more than that.
Normally. Yeah, no, but that's what most often I only give two lots of predictions, like one a fair way out and one close. But
Yeah, okay.
I know. I feel like people hedge their bets because they say, "Oh, I've had Carlos in third, and then I have Carlos in seventh because they put other guys up the top." And they're like, "Oh, it's close." But yeah, like
Look,
my prediction will be Carlos sort of like fifth or so in probably my final predictions. But with the potential to place as high as probably third or something like that, and then the potential to, if you massively missed your mark or something happened like that, you could place way lower. But I think the thing is, as long as like for you, Carlos, like I think people see the potential, obviously, and you want to like realize that potential. And for you, it's like the end placing will probably dictate so much of how like you've done. But like I said to Antoine on a podcast that we just did, I said, because he said he brought his best to the Arnold where he placed seventh, but he was so close, I'd say, with like John De La Rosa, and you had Akeem jump like 4 spots in that Arnold from prejudging to finals. So it shows how close some of those guys are. So you could play seventh and it'd be a phenomenal seventh because we saw the best Brandon Curry, who was ninth in the Olympia, and you could be the standard of a top 10 Olympian and still place seventh in this lineup. So it's just one of those shows where I think whoever places in those spots, like maybe like seventh, eighth, ninth, they're probably going to be really, really good bodybuilders that could on their day, or if they just nail the peak a bit better, or if they had just missed it, it can totally change up. It's just so close, which I love.
And that's good bodybuilding right there.
Yeah, I love it. And that's why it's so exciting now. This is like the season opener. It's a stacked show with like, obviously, like I'd say most people would say Carlos is the biggest dark horse in the show, where he has the most sort of upside based on
100%.
what we've seen before. So that's why
100%.
people are so excited. And Carlos, like in other people's minds, they're like, oh, you have the fans that say Carlos can, be top 3 or challenge this person or beat this person. And then you got the other people who are like, oh no, you don't know what you're talking about. So you got people literally fighting about it already, which is fun. But for you, obviously being in the middle of it probably feels weird, because you're like, why does this person hate me? Like, why does he say I suck? And you're probably like looking at their photos going, what? But yeah, it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, I know. It's good. If they don't talk about you, man, it means you're not doing anything.
Exactly.
You're right about
And
that.
Samson's got that thick skin now. Like, and I think that's where like being Mr. Olympia is the best thing for him. And like Kenson, you said before, it puts more pressure on some guys. But for Samson, I think he's just like, hey, none of this shit mattered. Like none of this shit that people said actually mattered. I'm Mr. Olympia now, so no one can really say shit, and I think he knows like he's I think things are much more positive from a outward perspective on him now than it was like earlier in the year after he lost to Hardy. And I think he knows that people see him for him now, and I think he's confident in who he is more so. He's more comfortable in his own skin, and he's like, cool. And he probably sees the overwhelmingly pretty good feedback now on him, but he still gets, like, you put yourself into his shoes, and then you'll see a post up saying that Samson has Simbo on his arms. Then you see a post up saying Samson has this. And then you see, and it's like, you'd still be like, but Samson I think he just blocks it out and goes, end of the day, see me on stage. I think that's his attitude now. So it's cool.
He's got a few haters.
Yeah.
Very few.
We all learn how to deal with that online. We all learn how to deal with that. I'll tell you where I'm at when it comes to putting you in third place, Carlos. Okay. I tend to look at everything leading up to the show when it comes to those X factors like I was talking about. You look at James with his 6 weeks O portion, right? It's just an unsettling portion in the prep, getting very deep into the prep. You look at Derek working with Chris Aceto. Okay. He's been working with him since at least 15 or 16 weeks out, from what I understand, but he's never worked with him before. There's an X factor there, right?
Yeah.
Derek is getting Chris Cormier in, so which is fine. He's also got the other trainer from Brazil. I don't know who it is.
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys remember his? Yeah. Anyway, so he's bringing him in to change up some of his training, which is also good, fine, but it's still a bit of a change, and it can either work very well or it can end up working maybe not to a detriment when it comes to training in particular, but maybe it may not be as effective as, something that Derek might do on his own, knowing to push his own limits, knowing to take control of all those things. Learning new techniques, I agree with, but getting this deep into prep, maybe it'll help, but I feel like maybe it won't. And that's just my opinion. But for you, now knowing that this is the smooth sailing portion, and that you're working with the right team, and you have the communication, and you have experience working with these people as well, and recognizing these these things within yourself, your training, how you're feeling, and just experience with yourself as well. Couple that with the fact that when you go shot for shot, like I've done in all the 8 mandatory poses between you and Derek, again emphasizing, assuming the conditioning is there and the back is brought up, you win shots. So if all things work out the way that I think they may, that's why I have you in third. Samson, Andrew, because it's fucking Andrew Jack, and I really think that you have the chance to beat Derek. And a lot of people think that I am insane for that. But I
heard you arguing that with somebody.
And I will argue it again. It was me and Ken. I guarantee.
we were arguing that you're like, well, you're saying I think he'll beat Derek, and we're just like, oh, Derek is Mr. Olympia. Like, that's not
everybody
like
stop. Everybody stop
me. A freak, but
immediately.
I think Derek is like, it's more the expectation to put on Carlos to say like you think he'll beat him, and it's like Derek is still 1 year removed from being Mr. Olympia. Like, he's still, what he brought at the Olympia for third was still phenomenal. It was still a phenomenal physique, and there's a lot of.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand all that. I understand, but add up the X factors. I'm not incorrect.
But do I want Carlos to beat Derek? Fuck yeah.
Oh, sure.
Like, definitely. Yeah. I want to see that. I want to see Carlos bring something that's so crazy that would do that. Hey, like, that would be sick.
If Derek comes in soft, he'll beat him.
Yeah,
yep.
Exactly.
Or if he comes in like he did at the Olympia.
Shot for shot, pose for pose.
Saying someone can't do it. I'm not saying Carlos can't do it. No way. Because, there's variabilities at every show. Carlos could just nail his peak like crazy, and it just like everything comes together and it's like perfect. And Derek could just be like, a step down from the Olympia last year, and then Carlos beats him. Like, that can happen. It's just like the likelihood of it happening, and saying it's more likely to happen. I'm like, cool, it's a big step. It gets to Mr. Olympia, 1 year removed, because Derek is crazy, like, yeah, I think people forget.
I'm not saying that it won't be close. I'm not saying it won't be close, because I think it will be, but I still think that given everything, when you add all that up, when you look at the journey, which I know, and look, Bob's a great guy. I like Bob. but he always says that it doesn't matter about the journey. It only matters about the, what you bring on stage. And I actually rebutted him when he was on my podcast about that, because I think the journey does matter, especially from an analytical state of doing these predictions. Add it all up. And Mark, you remember, nobody thought that I was right about Nexzilla when it came to the Prague Pro and him taking third. I was right about that. And you look at I believe it was the Tampa in 2023 with Emmanuel Alvarez. I had him in my top 3. It was his pro debut, and he took 4th. And everyone was like, no way. And I was right about that, too. And I think I'm going to be right this time.
Oh, yes, I remember, man.
I like it.
You remember Emmanuel Alvarez?
Yeah.
I was right about him, too, man. Yep. So that's why, that's where I'm at with it. If anybody disagrees with me, which I know some people do, let me know in the comments.
The Swami has spoken. The Swami has spoken. All right.
No.
Well,
I won't say I'll go that far. But I do think that
didn't you
that
predict
if you
Carlos
add them
to
all
win
up,
Texas? Was it you or John?
Nope. No. I had Texas
John
correct.
did.
It was John. John said, because John heard at that time that I think he heard that your father was saying how fantastic you were looking or something like that.
Hey, he got third.
Yeah. And I was right there too. And there's a good point. I was right about third in Texas.
Well,
about
when
Carlos.
I predict, there's people I know that I predict in shows. Like I predicted Samson second at the Olympia, he won it. I predicted Martin.
Yeah.
When I predict people to
You
win or
predicted
do
Martin
better
to win
than
New York,
expected.
and he didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm very good with
so
the
as
dark
soon as I
horses.
predict him to win, I predict Martin 5th in the Olympia and he gets 4th. Like they always exceed it by one spot.
All right,
Like,
yeah, no.
Say where, leave yours where is that, bro? Please.
Yeah, exactly. I got a feeling when it comes to the dark horses, and my track record is good. So we'll see what happens. All right, we'll see what happens. Listen, Carlos,
as soon as I predict someone to win, they don't win.
Hi, girl. Yeah, look, it's going to be an awesome show, and Detroit on top of that, and we'll see what else you end up doing. Listen, man, you're very, very deep into your prep here. We'll let you go for now, but listen, thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate you coming on, man, and I'm really, really looking forward to you proving me right and then talking about it with these guys.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, please.
I'm gonna help prove you right because I'm gonna go do some cardio right now. So
I love it, man.
There you go. There you go. I'll take a very, very minuscule portion of your victory, to heart.
I'll give you a shout out.
All right.
Please have victory money.
Different story. All right. Look, let's we'll wrap it up there. Again, thank you as always, gentlemen, for joining me on another episode of the Bodybuilding Breakdown, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.